15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry. Focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans, Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cache Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cache Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
This next one's for all you CarMax shoppers who just want to buy a car your way.
Wanna check some cars out in person? Wanna look some more from your house? Okay.
Want to pretend you know about engines?
Nah, I'll just chat with CarMax online instead.
Wanna get pre-qualified from your couch? Woo! Wanna get that car? ASAP! You wanna do it your way.
Want to drive? CarMax.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
All members of Dub Nation know two essential truths. 1, the Warriors have the best point guard in the history of the game. And 2, the very best planes in the sky are United. New planes are joining the United fleet every week, decked out with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, and power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to fit everyone's carry-on, or giant foam fingers. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United Airlines, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
To Curry, pump fake, flyby, three ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
This is something that we never could have imagined tonight, playing out the way it is. The ball thrown in to Kevin Durant as Draymond just bounced it off him to end the game. Game's over. They hug at half court, and the Warriors have come away with an improbable, unbelievable victory here in Houston. In overtime, your final score, Golden State 115, and the Houston Rockets 113.
Well, Tim Roy summing it up perfectly, as he always does, the voice of the Dubs here on 95.7 The Game. An improbable Warrior win tonight in Houston, and I'm saying it. I think it's the win of the season for the Warriors, considering everything going on with the team the last couple of weeks, considering who was available tonight and who was not, who wasn't even with the team on the trip, which most notably Steph Curry, of course, also Jimmy Butler. Welcome in. This is Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. What a win for the Warriors. Mark Grandy with you. 115-113, the final. The Dubs knock off the Rockets in overtime in Houston. This is a really good Houston team. They're just about as healthy as they're going to be for the rest of the season. They're missing a couple of guys for the whole year, Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams. Those guys aren't coming back anytime soon. Beyond that, they're essentially fully healthy for this game today. And the Warriors, down Steph Curry, down Jimmy Butler, down Kristaps Porzingis, down Moses Moody. Those are, if you're fully healthy, potentially 4 starters, but you're also down Will Richard. You're down GP2, and you're down Seth Curry, and you found a way to win 115-113 in overtime. The effort for this Warrior team was absolutely amazing. Frankly, it was inspiring. They led nearly wire to wire. There were some moments in the fourth quarter when they got down. They forced overtime. They relatively easily could have won the game in regulation if they executed a bit better down the stretch. It probably shouldn't have been as close as it was in overtime. They were up by 5 with a little more than a minute left, and then they made 3 terrible mistakes back to back to back, but they ultimately found a way to win 115-113. What a win for the Warriors. What a crazy, crazy game this was, and we're here to take your calls and to take your text messages and your comments on YouTube all night long here on Warriors Wrap Up. Again, welcome in. Mark Randy with you. This is Warriors Wrap Up after a crazy Warrior win. Final score 115-113. If you want to join the conversation, 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It is also the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. I see the 415 already chiming in, the 408, the 360 on the text line. Shout out to the 707 as well. Plus, the YouTube chat is up and rolling as always. YouTube.com/957 The Game. I see you, Apollo. I see you, SGA. I see you, AB. A few others chiming in on YouTube. Keep the comments coming on the YouTube feed, youtube.com/957 The Game. Okay, so how did this one happen? Well, the Warriors got off to a really good start. They led 30-20 after the first quarter. And then the second quarter was a struggle for the Warriors. They only scored 21 points in the second. The offense bogged down a bit. I thought there was a pretty concerted effort for the Warriors to get to the paint really throughout this game, particularly, though, in the first and third quarters, and it paid off. This is the Warrior team that started today. They started Pajemski, Melton, Guy Santos, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. Considering what this Warriors roster is, that is one of the bigger starting 5s they've used all season. Guy at the 3, that's not usually the position he plays. He usually plays the 4. Draymond was playing the 4, and Al Horford, of course, playing the 5. So this is a larger Warrior team in general, but you're going up against maybe the biggest front line in the association, and it's the Houston Rockets. Tari Eason is playing the 2, and he's a large 2. Amen Thompson is playing the 1. He is a large 1. And then at 3, 4, 5, they go Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Şengün. That's basically 3 7-footers. So you felt like for the Warriors, scoring in the paint was probably going to be a challenge. You also felt like you were probably going to get dominated on the glass. Yet you look at those 2 numbers over the course of the entire game. The Warriors, 60 points in the paint. The Rockets, 48 points in the paint. The Dubs plus 12 in points in the paint in this game. That's what won them this basketball game. They didn't make 14 threes. They shot 37% from deep. You will take that. But they won this game, and they were at their best offensively. And it was, in general, difficult offensively. They had 101 points after regulation. That is a really low number in today's NBA. They won this game because of their ability to break down the Rockets and score in the paint. And considering who you were down, that's pretty darn impressive by the Warriors in this game. 60-48 points in the paint. Rebounds. This is a Houston Rockets team that is the best rebounding team in the league, specifically the offensive rebounding. They average, they grab about 40% of their misses. Their missed field goals, they grab the offensive rebound 40% of the time, which is just an absurdly high number. And they were kind of living up to that in the first half. The rebounding numbers Let me find it for you here. In the first half, Houston was plus 13 on the boards. They had 30 rebounds in the first half to the Warriors 17. 21 of their 30 were on D. 9 of their 30 were offensive rebounds. They were plus 5 in terms of second chance points in the first half. In the second half, though, the Warriors out-rebounded the Houston Rockets by 5 and had a 2-point edge on second chance points. Overall, for the entire game, Houston 49 rebounds, the Warriors 47 rebounds. The Warriors held their own and at times beat the Rockets out their own game, scoring in the paint and on the glass. And this is a Warrior team, again, without Steph, without Jimmy, without Kristaps, without Moses, without Will Richard, without GP2, without Seth Curry, against essentially a fully healthy Houston team. And the Warriors won this game 115-113. It was an incredible performance. The effort was there the entire game. And I know this is a Warrior franchise that is incredibly proud, has won 4 championships, and we're dealing with the end of this run as far as Stephen Curry's tenure is in his career, and it's an emotional thing, and expectations are still sky high despite the fact that he's going to be 38 years old in 9 days now on the 14th of this month. Expectations are still sky high, so it's really hard for this organization, for this fan base, for myself to try to play the moral victory game. The positive for the Warriors, I think, even during a lot of losses, has been the effort. It really has been. It's been this group of players led by the likes of Guy Santos and Brandon Pajemski and DeAnthony Melton. And, lately, Nate Williams, right? And Pat Spencer and all these cool, fun stories, just how hard that they've played. And they've kept the Warriors in certain games maybe you felt like they shouldn't be in, only to ultimately sometimes lose them down the stretch. This is not a moral victory kind of franchise. That is kind of what has been the case of late for the Warriors. But tonight, it was amazing to see that kind of effort, that kind of energy pay off in terms of an improbable win, and the Warriors got it done 115-113. I mean, everyone that stepped on the floor for the Warriors tonight had themselves at least a pretty decent game, specifically the 5 starters, and then also LJ Cryer off the bench. Just listen to some of these numbers. Brandon Pajemski was great. Brandon Pajemski was great in this game. I think maybe the best way to put it, and I saw it on the YouTube chat early, in fact, before we even got going, I think it was Apollo who said this. It was a bad day for a lot of Warrior haters. And by Warrior haters, I mean some fans who have turned on certain members of this team, right? The Brandon Pajemskis of the world, the Draymond Greens of the world, and the Steve Kerrs of the world. I thought those 3 had excellent nights tonight. Pajemski with 26 points led the way. Also had 9 more rebounds. And considering how often he had the ball in his hands, just 1 turnover against this defense. And by the way, did you notice who Houston put on Pajemski in this game? Did you notice that? The Houston Rockets opened this basketball game by putting Amen Thompson on Brandon Pajemski. If you're unfamiliar with Amen Thompson, one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he's the guy that when Steph Curry is healthy and this matchup happens, he's the guy that guards Steph. So without Steph available, Ime Udoka and the Rockets decided, all right, who are we going to put Amen Thompson, our defensive ace on? We're going to put him on Pajemski. First thought that came into my mind was, wow, that is major respect to Pajemski. At least within that Rockets locker room, they must think pretty highly of Brandon Pajemski. Or maybe they don't think as highly as of anybody else, and maybe it is kind of a by default thing. I thought it was interesting. I'm also not sure it was the best decision for Houston, because what happened when they had their best defender in Amen Thompson on Pajemski, it freed up DeAnthony Melton, and he scored 10 points early and helped the Warriors build an 11-point lead very early in this game. They had Tari Eason on Melton. Not that Tari Eason's a bad defender by any stretch, but he's not Amen Thompson, and Melton took advantage. I thought that was an interesting decision in this game. But then Pajemski in the second half got his offense going. He scored 7 of the Warriors' 14 points in overtime, hit a big 3, had a nice reverse layup, got a little a push shot to fall. He finishes with 26 and 9. How about Al Horford? What Al Horford did defensively First of all, on Şengün scored 17 points on 20 shots tonight. And it wasn't Al Horford defending him the entire way, but what Al Horford did against Şengün, I thought was miraculous. And he scored 17 points, had 6 rebounds and 5 assists. He played nearly 33 minutes. Not too bad for a 40-year-old. I thought Al Horford was really, really good in this one. Draymond Green, what he did defensively, specifically on Kevin Durant, I thought was amazing as well. KD got 23. That's below his average. He only got 16 shots up. And again, this is a team effort defending these guys, but for the most part, Al was the primary defender on Şengün, and Draymond was the primary defender on KD. I thought those two did great jobs on the defensive end. I mean, Houston, they're not an explosive offensive team. They're kind of a throwback offensive team. Reed Shepherd scored 30 off the bench and made 6 threes. He's kind of the classic 2026 NBA player, quick, shifty guard who can hit the 3 ball. Other than that, they are a Şengün score in the post or in the mid-range, and then Kevin Durant can get a bucket at all 3 levels. They are not a normal NBA offense. They win basketball games because of their defense and because of their offensive rebounding. So holding Houston to 101 in regulation isn't like, say, holding a team like, I don't know, like OKC to 101. This is a different kind of offense. But still, what the Warriors did defensively, specifically on Şengün and Kevin Durant, I thought deserves a ton of kudos. And those were the main defenders there were Al Horford and Draymond Green. But I thought Quentin Post, at times in really big spots, including in overtime, by the way, because one of the other crazy parts about this Warriors win is not only are you down Steph and Jimmy and Kristaps and Moses and all the others, you went into overtime and you had to put Melton and Horford on the bench because those guys are on minutes restrictions. And Melton ended up playing 30 minutes tonight, and Al Horford played 33 minutes tonight, which is, I would imagine, way more than Steve Kerr wanted to play him, and they would have played more, but Steve Kerr took him out to begin overtime, which I'm sure probably frustrated some Warrior fans because those are 2 of the Warriors' best players in the game today, but that is a directive from the medical staff, not from Steve Kerr himself. So he has to take those guys out to begin overtime. What happens? LJ Cryer, who's playing in overtime for DeAnthony Melton, makes a big 3, and Quentin Post got a really big stop, down low, stood up to Şengün, and forced the miss. And then eventually Melton comes back in, Horford comes back in. They help put the game away, and the Warriors win 115-113. But this was a truly team effort for the Warriors in this game. You got contributions from everybody. I mean, all 5 starters scored in double figures, You got 12 from Cryer, who made 4 threes. I believe every single one of his made field goals in his NBA career, which I think is now 6 or 7, they're all made threes. 4 of them came tonight. He scored those 12 points, including a big 3, as I mentioned, early in overtime. But 26 from Pods, 23 from Melton, 17 from Al, 14 from Gee, 12 from LJ Cryer, 10 from Draymond. He also had 5 boards and 8 assists. He was kind of the hub offensively. A number of really nice passes to cutters that set up buckets. What a win. What a win for the Warriors. And then Steve Kerr, I think, pushing a lot of the right buttons as well. This was truly a throwback performance for the Warriors, and they won this one 115-113. And, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself because this, in the end of the day, is just one win. But you do wonder if the Warriors can get some performances like this from some of their others, right? Not asking for 26 and 9 from Podziemski every day. Not asking for 17, 6 and 5 from Al Horford every day. But you do wonder that if there is a moment where this Warrior team can get fully healthy or close to it at some point. Porzingis and Seth Curry were getting in some work pregame today. You get Steph Curry back maybe within another week, 10 days or so. Maybe Porzingis can get through a stretch of health, and you wonder what this team might look like towards the end of the regular season. Not going to sit here and tell you I think that they can challenge for anything of, serious in the Western Conference, but at the very least, you do wonder, hey, that this team might be a threat to win a series in the Western Conference. Maybe even that is getting ahead of myself. It probably is, because this team has got to get healthy in the first place. But a win like tonight can do a whole lot. And you just look at the NBA standings in the Western Conference, what this win means. You're keeping the Clippers at bay. If you had lost tonight, you would be 31-31, and the Clippers would be just a half game behind you. And currently, they have the tiebreaker, by the way, because they're 2-1 versus you so far this season. So this was a huge win. The difference between being the 8 or the 9 is either getting 2 chances to win 1 play-in game to go to the playoffs or having to win 2 play-in games to go to the playoffs. That's huge. So tonight was a major, major plus for the Warriors in relation to that. So what a win. What a win for the Warriors. Contributions from everywhere. Now, this does not mean that they executed perfectly down the stretch because there were some mistakes, and we're going to get to that. I do, though, want to look at a couple of the texts that are coming in on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. And again, if you want to join the conversation, 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It is also the number to text. If you want to join the conversation on YouTube, you can do that as well. YouTube.com/957 the game. The chat is flowing as it always is on YouTube. Let's see. The 415 writes, incredible win. You said it, inspiring. For me, one of the better played and coached games. Fans forget Kerr can still coach and is very capable of doing more with less, so to speak. The players also stepped up across the board. My expectations for this season are now lower, but anytime this team can fight and show effort regardless of the final score, that's all I want. Winning just makes it sweeter. That's from Ben in San Francisco. Ben, I think it's a great text, and thank you for chiming in on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. I talked about pods. There's more to say there. I talked about Draymond. I think there's more to say there. I do want to highlight Steve Kerr for just a moment because Steve Kerr isn't the most popular guy, at least from what I see from Warrior fans right now. I think a lot of us in the business, a lot of us that are here and talking to you on the radio, we are inundated with a lot, I think, of the negativity and the toxicity oftentimes. It's why you heard today on this station a lot of talk about Brandon Podziemski. And, why does this fan base hate Podziemski? And you might be listening, sitting in your car right now, or you got the Odyssey app fired up and you're sitting here thinking, what are these guys talking about? I don't hate Podziemski. When you're in our positions, oftentimes you see a lot more of the negativity on social media or on these message boards or on our YouTube chat or on our text line. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but it does feel like there is a lot of negativity specifically around Podziemski and Draymond and Steve Kerr. And I'm not here saying that those guys have been perfect. In fact, at least a couple of them have been pretty far from perfect. But if we're going to be fair discussing their faults, we have to also be fair discussing their successes. And tonight, I thought Steve Kerr coached an awesome game. We talked about what happened early in overtime when the Warriors trotted out there on the court to begin overtime players that included LJ Cryer and Quinton Post in overtime against this Houston Rockets team. And my first thought was, where's Melton and where's Horford? And then I realized, those guys are on minutes restrictions, and Steve Kerr probably has been told by the medical staff, you can't possibly play these guys for all of overtime. Be smart. And so he turned to LJ Cryer and he turned to Quinton Post, and those two both had big moments in overtime to help the Warriors win this basketball game. That's just one thing. That might not necessarily be a major feather in Steve Kerr's cap because it's the players that go out there and that make the plays. But Kerr picked the right guys to go in and play for Melton and play for Horford in that moment, then brought them back in, and they played well in that moment. I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit for a lot of these guys staying ready and for the energy and the effort and the care that they're showing. That comes from the top down from the coaching staff, and it trickles on down to the team as well. There was also a moment in the fourth quarter where I think this is where Steve Kerr is one of the best in the entire league at. The Warriors in the fourth quarter went through a stretch where for almost 4 minutes they did not score. A Podziemski floater made it a 2-point Houston lead with 8 minutes left in regulation. Post split a pair of free throws with about 5 minutes to go. And then Draymond an and-one layup off a pass from Podziemski with 3:39 to go. He made the free throw that tied the game at 93. That was 4 minutes and 21 seconds between made field goals for the Warriors. And the previous made field goal, that Podziemski floater, cut it to a 2-point Houston lead. So the Warriors score with 8 minutes left, 2-point Houston lead. They do not make another field goal until 3:39 left, and that field goal somehow ties the game. Number one, shout out to the defense. All those stops they forced, their offense was not scoring. They scored 1 point on one free throw over 4 minutes and 21 seconds, yet when that next field goal was made, they were closer than they were when the drought began because they were not allowing Houston to score on the other end as well. But do you remember how that Draymond and one bucket came to be? Steve Kerr called the timeout, drew up an out-of-bounds play, sideline out-of-bounds play, and got Draymond an and one, a cutting layup from the baseline. Podziemski found him, and one layup. The field goal drought snapped. It's over. Warriors tied the game, and they don't win the game without that. Steve Kerr is, for my money, the best coach in the NBA at designing out-of-bounds plays, out of timeouts, right? Whether it's sideline, whether it's baseline, whether it's near half court, he is a master at that. And I thought that play was, first of all, was a perfectly timed timeout, and then second of all, a perfectly drawn-up play. Got the Warriors an easy bucket, took the lid off the basket, and they don't go to overtime without that bucket. And the Warriors ultimately win this game in overtime, 115-113. But again, it was not as if this was a perfect game down the stretch either. It felt like the Warriors were going to not win it easily, but maybe it wasn't going to be as nail-biting down the stretch, and then it was. But the Warriors were up by 5 after Podziemski scored 7 quick to begin overtime. So Podziemski backdoor cut, reverse layup. Podziemski hit a right wing 3. Then Podziemski drove past KD and scores on him at the rim. Warriors go up 5 with about 1:49 left. That's when Horford and Melton check back in for Post and Cryer. Horford switches out onto KD, forces an air ball. Incredible defense by Al Horford. We're talking about a 40-year-old Al. I guess the age difference isn't that much with 37-year-old KD. But KD, despite being probably taller than Al Horford, is quicker and shiftier and really good with the dribble and, better side-to-side mover. But Al stays in front of him, forces the air ball by KD in the mid-range. Warriors get the rebound, and you're thinking, oh my God, they're up by 5. There's a minute 25 left, and then what happens? Melton gets his pocket picked by Amen Thompson. Amen races back down the other way, gets fouled, goes to the free throw line. That's mistake number 1. Warriors up 5 with a minute 25 left, turnover at half court. That leads to a scoring opportunity for Houston. Okay, that's mistake number 1. Amen makes the first free throw, then misses the second, but the ball gets batted around like 5 times. Amen eventually comes down with it, not being able to get the rebound off of a missed free throw. That's mistake number 2. Eventually, off that offensive board, it results in a Kevin Durant three-pointer. It's a 4-point possession. You were just up 5 with the ball with 1:25 left. 25 seconds later, you're only up by 1, which is crazy. Horford then scores in the post on Amen Thompson. Lead goes back up to 3. Then Melton fouls Kevin Durant shooting a three-pointer with 30 seconds left. KD makes the first. KD makes the second. If he makes the third, it's a tie game with 30 left, but the Warriors luck out. He misses the third, and Draymond gets the rebound, so they stay up by 1. But the foul of KD on a three-point shot, when you're up 3 with 30 seconds left, that's mistake number 3. You're letting Houston back into the basketball game, but KD misses the third. Draymond gets the rebound. Melton drives and misses. Gee's putback misses. Melton then tips it up and in. Warriors go back up by 3 with 5 seconds left. Then they played it smart down the stretch. Draymond fouls KD on the inbound. They lucked out because KD missed the first, then accidentally made the second, and then the Warriors run out the final handful of seconds, and they win this game 115-113. But man, they made it tough on themselves down the stretch. Those 3 terrible back-breaking mistakes. Frankly, they're pretty lucky, and they got lucky with KD at the free throw line missing 2 really important free throws. They're lucky that Houston did not make them pay for those mistakes, but I felt like the Warriors deserved to win this basketball game, and they ultimately did 115-113. What a win. Win of the season in my mind for the Warriors. All right. Let's hear from you guys. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Again, that's 888-957-9570. Up first is Chardol in Fremont who wants to weigh in. What's up, Chardol?
What's up, Chardol? Hey, Mark Grandy. I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, 95.7 The Game. I tune into your show every single time after Warriors game. I think you're the GOAT. I think you kill it every single day. Keep doing what you do. You're the man. You know how to get it done. I know it. Behind Brandon Podziemski and Deontay Melton, they combined for 49. I think this was a statement victory. Warriors got to keep playing like this every single night, and if they do, you don't know what's going to happen. They might just do something magical. I mean, and it was great calling the Warriors wrap-up, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Chardol. That was even more complimentary than usual, and I love it. Thank you for the kind words, as always, Chardol. It felt like you were getting a little emotional there, and I love it. Last time I heard from you on Warriors Wrap-Up, you were pretty emotional, but it was in the other direction. So I'm glad the Warriors gave you something to be happy about this time, Chardol. What a win that was, 115-113. Yeah, Podziemski was awesome in this game, and, you know, the relationship that a lot of Warrior fans have with Podziemski, it is a rocky one. I think that's putting it lightly, but I mean, he was awesome in this game today. 26 points. He was 10 for 18 from the field, 4 for 8 from downtown, had 9 boards, 5 of them were offensive rebounds, turned the ball over just once. He picked up 2 fouls very early in this game, like within the first 2 minutes of this game, only picked up 2 more the entire rest of the way. Podziemski was great in this one for the Warriors. And it was in clutch time when he was at his best, by the way. 7 points in overtime. 7 points in overtime. The Warriors scored 14 in overtime. He scored half of them. And his points came when Melton and Horford were on the bench, right? The beginning of that overtime period. You look at who the Warriors put out there on the court, and you're looking around and you're searching, well, who the hell is going to score the basketball for this group right now? You got Podziemski out there. You got Guy Santos out there. You got Draymond out there. You've got LJ Cryer and Quentin Post out there. Who you looking to score the rock with that group? And Cryer hit a 3. Kudos to Cryer. Awesome moment for him. There is zero doubt in my mind he will think of tonight as his best NBA moment. Doesn't have a lot of them. And this was, by the way, in the town in which he was very good in collegiately for the Houston Cougars. Also, previously, before that, was with Baylor, but went all the way to the Natty last year with Houston. So it probably meant a lot to him to be able to do this in the city of Houston once again. But it was Podziemski, 7 points within the first couple of minutes of OT to kind of steady the Warriors, give them that 5-point advantage, which they then milked all the way to the final whistle and won this game 115-113. But man, Podziemski was great. And again, specifically great in the big moments when you needed it, without Melton on the court, without Horford on the court. Who are you going to turn to? And it was Podziemski that answered the bell, and he answered it at a really, really high level, scoring 7 points in overtime. And the Warriors ultimately were led by his 26 points overall. 888-957-9570. Back out to the phones we go. Derek is in Millbrae and wants to weigh in. What's up, Derek? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, what's up, man? Just incredible tonight. The Denver win at home. Just because this was on the road against a very, very good Houston team. And, you know, they were feasting. This was going to be a blowout win for them. And, you know, honestly thinking a lot of people did, because the Warriors were really reeling. It looked like things were spiraling out of control, going in the wrong direction. And to pull this off was just incredible. As you mentioned, so many game balls to go around. Pods, I know people love him or hate him, but when this guy is on, just like that Denver game where he single-handed took over and won that game, he was outstanding. Along with they were the two leaders tonight. But Horford making so many critical plays on the Guy Santos, as you mentioned, Draymond, even the bench coming in, Cryer, these guys, basically G Leaguers who nobody's ever heard of, coming out and playing their guts out there. Even Post giving them some crucial minutes. Williams off the bench. So many game balls to go out tonight to pull that out. Because honestly, thinking it looked like, all right, Houston was going to taking the overdrive there in the fourth quarter, and looked like they were going to start to pull away there. And every time it looked like they were going to take over the game there, the Warriors, Melton or somebody was hitting a big shot or big tip in play. So this was just an incredible, resounding game from team. And as you mentioned, Kerr trusting his guys on the bench, who nobody has ever heard of, and quite frankly, any of the Rockets probably prepare for. But that was an advantage for the Warriors, and I just love so many epic performances tonight. And this is what you love to see from this team, because now they're so damn depleted. You don't know who you can really rely on outside of Pods occasionally or Melton, and guys are just stepping up when they had to. So they need to get this one, because it only gets tougher when you play the defending champs on Saturday night. So glad they got this one, and hopefully they can hold off the Clippers, because right now those guys are right in their butt, nipping at their heels. So this was just an incredible win. Game ball to all the team, and love what they did. And hopefully, man, they can pull out a couple wins, and hopefully we can get our guy back. I don't know if Curry's going to come back. Porzingis, I don't know what's going on with him, but all in all, we'll celebrate this win tonight, and then we got a tough task on Saturday night against the defending champs. But kudos to everybody on the team, man. Outstanding win tonight. Great win and game tonight. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, appreciate the call as always. Hell of a win. You're right. And like just how shorthanded was this Warrior team? 10 active players tonight. Just this season alone, at some point this season, 4 of those 10 active Warriors had been on a 2-way contract at some point this season. 5, if you go back in their careers, had been on a 2-way contract at some point in their NBA careers. 4 of the 10 active players tonight were on a 2-way deal, either currently are or at some point this season were. Those 4, of course, Pat Spencer, who's no longer on a 2-way, but was, Nate Williams, LJ Cryer, and Malachi Leons. And the Warriors won leaning on those guys against a Houston team that is essentially fully healthy. No Jayshawn Tate tonight. That was the only one that is expected to be healthy again this season that was not playing tonight. And the Warriors won 115-113. What a win. What a win for the Warriors. Okay, we got to take a break. When we come back, more time for your calls and your texts and your YouTube messages, youtube.com/957 the game, plus the number 888-957-9570. Plus, we will hear from Steve Kerr and a whole lot more as the Dubs win in Houston in overtime, 115-113. For my money, win of the season for the Dubs. They do it shorthanded, and they knock off a really, really good Houston team behind a vintage Draymond game, behind a great game from Pajemski. I'm glad our caller Eric shouted out Guy Santos, who was a team-high plus 20 in a game that went to overtime. You know how hard that is to do? Warriors win, and they had to get a win like this because they let a couple go that they shouldn't. And as our caller just mentioned, the Clippers on the Warriors' heels in the Western Conference standings. A huge, huge win for the Warriors tonight. Time for a break. More Warriors wrap up with me, Mark Randy, coming up next on 95.7 The Game.
Looking for lifelong financial guidance? Look no further than Pettinelli Financial Partners, your dedicated financial coaches for every stage of life's journey. Whether you're planning for retirement, starting a family, or buying a home, we're here for you every step of the way. Visit PettinelliFP.com. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I am grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Discover the luxury of Monogram appliances at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill. At Monogram, it's not just one detail, it's many. From preheating your oven with voice control to checking your dishwasher cycle from your phone. Monogram blends innovation with elegance. Right now, receive up to 2 free eligible Monogram appliances or generous credits toward the appliances of your choice. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill to explore the full Monogram collection, showcased in stunning live working vignettes, or online at friedmansappliance.com.
Xfinity Tech Support, Matthew speaking.
Hi, I live in a pretty remote place, like Jurassic Park remote.
Wow.
Will Xfinity Mobile work out here?
Yep, the combination of reliable Wi-Fi and 5G makes it so that you can stay connected in all kinds of places. Plus, you get access to ultra-fast speeds and coverage, whether you're poolside or out live streaming with a T-Rex.
Hold still, you're about to go viral.
Welcome to a new era of Wi-Fi boosted mobile. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Discover a new era of Wi-Fi boosted mobile at xfinitymobile.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Watch Jurassic Park with Xfinity. Savings comparison based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of February 10th, 2026.
Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and R&S Doors. Turn your garage into the envy of the neighborhood. Visit rnsdoors.com.
This week's closer comes from Patrick from Alameda. Elian was great, good communication and prompt. Quickly fixed my door spring and then explained some other aspects of the garage door and what to look for in the future. Thank you, R&S.
Recently, my garage door opener was not working. I was in need of a closer. I was put in touch with R&S Doors and they hooked me up with a brand new garage door opener from LiftMaster. With LiftMaster's MyQ connectivity, my garage door opener can be controlled right from my smartphone. You'll know when a door or gate has been left open and can close it with a tap, no matter where I am. Be one of the first 10 callers and receive 20% off a LiftMaster garage door opener.
Call 1-800-FIX-A-DOOR. That's 800-FIX-A-DOOR. Or visit rsdoors.com. R&S Doors. Look for the red truck.
Oakland sports live on, and professional soccer is back at the Coliseum. The 2026 Oakland Roots home opener is set for Saturday, March 14th, featuring an electrifying night of soccer, fireworks, and live music. This is more than a game. It's a celebration of Oakland's culture, community, and love for the sport. Be there as we kick off the season. Get your tickets now at oaklandrootssc.com/tickets. Use code THEGAME10 for 10% off.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Goes on through. Shot clock at 7. Melton turns. Drives on Shepard. Spins in the paint. Pumping. Goes up. It's up. No good. Tip. No good. Tipped in by Melton. Warriors lead by 3. 5.3 to go. 115 to 112. Melton took Shepard off the dribble. Got to the rim. Missed it. Santos with a tip. That was no good. Melton got it back again.
I think you're the GOAT. I think you kill it every single day. Keep doing what you do. You're the man. You know how to get it done.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Is that Chardot talking about D'Anthony Melton? I think it might be. That would make more sense, at least. I appreciate the compliment as always, but man, I mean, how good was Melton? had a couple of rough moments. That turnover in overtime at half court when Ahmed Thompson picked his pocket, but then he came back and scored what was the icing, the bucket that iced the game, essentially, because at that point, Warriors just foul on the inbound, and the Rockets need something to go their way to erase that deficit. But Melton drove, got into the lane, kind of becoming a habit, missing a makeable shot. But then with that moment, Guy stuck with it. His putback missed. Melton stuck with it, and it got the putback to go. Warriors go up by 3 with like 5 seconds left, and they foul KD on the catch, so he can't hit a 3 to tie the game and force double OT, and they luck out because he misses the first free throw. And then if you're Houston at that point, you're forced to miss the second free throw on purpose, hope you can get the rebound and get the ball out to the three-point line for a quick 3. Warriors probably would have fouled if Houston got the rebound anyway, or just let them take the 2 points. But after missing the first that he was trying to make, KD then made the second, which he was trying to miss. So the Warriors get to inbound the ball, and a great inbound play again by Steve Kerr, drawn up by Steve. They pass it in to Al, who's all by himself. He runs away for a second, passes to Draymond, who avoids a couple of foul attempts, passes to Guy, and then Guy nearly avoids a foul before the buzzer expires. Ultimately, he got fouled with 1/10 of a second left. Not in the bonus, though, so they inbound it from the side, and Draymond throws the ball off of KD, and that's the ball game when the Warriors win 115-113. What a win. What a win for the Warriors. And you get contributions from everywhere. All 5 starters score in double figures. Podziemski was great in this game with 26 and 9, 23 and 6 for Melton. You got 17 from Al Horford, and I thought 17 points to go with. 6 rebounds and 5 assists, by the way, and I thought he was equally as good on the defensive end of the court. Draymond isn't going to blow you away in terms of the stats, but that's never been Draymond's specialty. He had 10 points, though, 5 rebounds and 8 assists. Thought he was really, really good. What he did defensively on KD was great as well. It felt like a vintage defensive game from Draymond. He can get up for these kinds of games. He was great in this game. And then, LJ Cryer off the bench, what he did in making 4 big threes, including 1 in overtime when the Warriors were searching for scoring from anywhere while Melton and Horford rested. That was huge. He made 3 other really big ones as well. Guy Santos has a really odd box score because he committed 7 turnovers in this game, but he was still by a mile a team best plus 20 in the plus minus, which means while Guy was on the court, the Warriors outscored the Rockets by 20 points. While he was on the bench, the Rockets outscored the Warriors by 18 points. That is a pretty massive swing that speaks to Guy Santos' importance, despite the fact that he committed 7 turnovers in this game, had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, doing all the small things as he always does. And the Warriors used all of those performances, all of those contributions to win this game. Final score 115-113. And as we were just talking about with Eric previously before we hit that break, and we're going to go back out to the phones in a sec. Mark, I see you. We're coming to you in just a minute. This was a hugely important game. Everything's been going wrong for the Warriors of late. They just, we can be honest with ourselves. They got embarrassed by both LA teams at home. They get blown out by the Lakers. They put together a good first 24 minutes versus the Clippers, but then get dominated in the second half, and they lose that game by double digits as well. And you're thinking, not only are they not going to be able to climb out of the play-in, they might move to the bottom half of the play-in. If you had lost tonight, the Clippers would be just a half game behind you, and they'd only be a half game behind you because you would have played an extra game than them. So essentially, you could be thinking, we're tied with the Clippers, tied in the loss column, which is the important column when it comes to standings. If the Warriors had lost tonight, instead they win, and they give themselves a little bit more of a cushion with the Clippers. The Warriors now a game and a half ahead of the Clippers, which is really, really important because if you're the 9 seed, you have to beat the 10 seed at home in the play-in game, and then you have to win a second play-in game on the road versus the loser of the 7-8 game. So you really want to be at worst the 8, so you have 2 bites at the apple to go to the playoffs. If you fall to the 9, and the way that would happen is the Clippers or the Blazers, but more likely the Clippers were to catch you, you then have to win 2 do-or-die games just to make the playoffs. And that team you would then be facing would be in all likelihood the OKC Thunder. So tonight was huge because at least it keeps the Clippers at bay for a little bit longer. You get reinforcements back relatively soon. Both Porzingis and Seth Curry got in some pregame work tonight in Houston. We might see Porzingis on Saturday in OKC. We shall see. That game's going to be really, really difficult no matter what, even if Porzingis does play. Steph's not with the team on the trip. He's missing that game. He's missing the Utah game. He's missing the Chicago game when they return home next week as well. But you might start getting a few pieces back here and there, which should help the Warriors down the stretch. Tonight was game number 62, which means there are 20 games left for the Warriors. 20 games left. They are now 32-30. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're less than a quarter. We have less than a quarter of the season left at this point. Just 20 games left for the Warriors. Okay, let's go out to the phone lines as promised. 888-957-9570. Mark is up in Petaluma. Shout out to the 707. Say it backwards. What's up, Mark? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Okay, well, I just want to mention I was really surprised by your comment that Steve Kerr is one of the best coaches in basketball with out-of-bounds plays. Because, this year I've been hearing all the time, and last year too, actually, that the Warriors have a lot of trouble getting the ball in. So I'm confused here. I mean, Tim Roy is saying that, and you're saying Steve Kerr is one of the best. I mean, can't be both. I've heard him screw up so many inbound plays. What's the deal there?
Mark, I appreciate the call and the question. There are moments when the Warriors have a hard time inbounding the basketball, and it has bit them a couple of times this season. I'm remembering that game in Philadelphia earlier this year where they couldn't inbound the basketball. It resulted then in that, I think it was the Maxey miss, but the VJ Edgecombe putback layup to give them the lead in the final handful of seconds. And then down the stretch the other way, Maxey recovered and blocked what would have been a game-winning Warrior layup. There are moments where I think we're talking about probably two different things here, Mark. When the Warriors say, in a situation like that Philadelphia game, or in a situation like tonight, theoretically, where maybe you're up by 1 or you're up by 3 with 20 seconds left, and you just need to inbound the basketball and make your free throws to win. That's one kind of inbound play. And those are ones that at times this year the Warriors have struggled with. The inbound plays that I'm specifically talking about are, over the course of an entire game, when you come out of a timeout or out of a stoppage, or, even just out of bounds and the Warriors have one drawn up already, an inbounds play just over the course of a game to get yourself a bucket. Just to get yourself an easy bucket. Those are the kinds of inbound plays I'm talking about. Not necessarily the inbound plays where there's 3 seconds left and you inbound this ball and you probably win, but the Warriors turn it over or they have to call a timeout. Those are separate things, and I would not say that Steve Kerr is the best at that. But the inbound plays where the Warriors are looking for a bucket, it could be in the third quarter of a basketball game, and momentum is shifting away from them. And, there was a moment in the third quarter of this game, also in the second quarter or late in the first quarter, where the Rockets go on a 10-0 run, right? Actually, the run in the first half was in the second quarter. A 10-0 run in the second. There was also a 15-4 Houston run to close the third. In moments like that, where momentum is kind of shifting, Steve Kerr calls timeout, and they have a sideline inbound play, or maybe they even dribbled it up to across half court, and they inbound it closer towards the corner, wherever they're inbounding it from, but they look to get a bucket from that kind of play. That's what I'm talking about, where I think Steve Kerr is one of the best, if not the best, in the entire league. Again, there was a moment in this game, I want to see if I can find it so I can describe the play to you exactly. In the fourth quarter, the Warriors went about 4 minutes between made field goals. In fact, it was more than that. Podziemski floater made it a 2-point Houston lead. They cut the deficit from 4-2 with 8 minutes left. Then the Warriors' next bucket was a Draymond and one layup off a cut and a pass from Podziemski with 3 minutes and 39 left. And that was right after a Warrior timeout. And I I'm going to bring up the play, and I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to describe it to you. Warriors call timeout. They have not scored a field goal in over 4 minutes of basketball. And they call a play out of the timeout. Podziemski, in fact, before it's Al Horford, top of the key. Al Horford has the ball top of the key. Podziemski's in the right corner. Draymond's on the right wing, and Draymond on the right wing runs down towards the right corner to set a screen on Reed Shepherd, who's guarding Podziemski. Podziemski runs from the right corner to the right wing, closer to the top of the key, and catches the pass from Al Horford. After Draymond finishes setting a good screen, which forces the man defending him, Şengün, to go out and show against Podziemski, Draymond then immediately turns and runs baseline towards the basket, and Podziemski makes a perfect pocket pass, bounce pass to Draymond. Şengün can't recover, and Draymond gets an easy layup. That's what I'm talking about. Out of a timeout, drawing up a play to get the Warriors a bucket. And that's where Steve Kerr, I think, is one of, if not the best in the entire NBA. The inbound portion of this, I guess, is probably the less important part. It's just coming out of a timeout where you're inbounding the basketball, calling a set play, and getting yourself a bucket. And that's where Steve Kerr is very, very good. And that took the lid off the Warriors' bucket. It tied the basketball game up with 3:39 left. And they don't win the game without that because they don't go to overtime without that. But I thought Steve Kerr had a really good game in this one as well, and that's just one example of it. Speaking of Steve Kerr, let's hear from the coach of the Dubs. He addressed the media postgame in Houston as the Warriors win 115-113. Here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
We play well like we did tonight. We got a shot against anybody. So the mentality's right, and we just got to keep plugging away. But tonight was really fun.
How big was having Al Horford being able to defend Şengün and having Draymond be able to guard Durant?
Yeah, it's a big deal. To be able to match size with Al and then, put Draymond on, the other team's best player, whether it's Kawhi or Kevin. I think Draymond really relishes the opportunity because he's still an all-world defender. And so I loved that combination. And I played Al almost 33 minutes, so I'm probably going to be reprimanded by Rick Celebrini. So I'm willing to take my punishment if it meant that we got the win tonight.
See, you talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about how proud of how hard they're putting out. But why do you think that has maintained at the level that it has consistently, no matter who?
He's got a great group, these young guys who've come in, Nate Williams has played really well for us. Malify, you see the energy that he brings. It's really fun to see LJ tonight. He's from here, obviously. He was at the Houston game last night and got honored by Coach Sampson, and then comes out tonight and hits 4 threes, big shots, big minutes. We start him, in overtime because we were trying to keep Melt's minutes down, and he made some huge plays for us. He's a winner, but all these guys are just committed to each other and to the mission, and it's a really fun group.
Something great as D'Anthony's dribble penetration.
Yeah.
Just his scoring.
Yeah, it's huge, down the stretch. When I think we were up 1 and, he had the isolation up top. He got to the rim and eventually scored on the putback. And, his ability to get past people is really a big deal for us.
You said you thought it might be Brandon's best game of the year. I know the stat line's good, but what did you really like about this game?
There was just the right mix of on and off ball attacks. You saw him get that flare and dive layup to start overtime that gave us the lead. He recognizes those plays probably better than anybody else on the floor on both teams. Like he just sees the game when the ball swings. He runs into a screen, dives to the rim, gets a layup. But you look at the numbers, 1 turnover, 9 boards, made 4 threes, made big shots too, big plays. And his defense was really good. So just a great game for Brendan.
You mentioned LJ. What did you like about him? He was coming out of college.
So what do you think about him making most of them too?
Well, I think every shot's going in when LJ shoots it. He's just got that look. And he's confident. His misses are dead on line. He's just got a natural shooting stroke, but also a natural ability to create some separation. And he's a winner. I mean, he won in college. He's a gamer. You saw how beloved he was in that building last night. That doesn't happen by accident. And our guys totally respect him and are watching him, as a two-way player, trying to carve out a place in the NBA, and we saw tonight, like, he's not afraid. He's going to get out there and let it fly.
At one point in the fourth quarter, you had all three two-way guys on the court at one time. It's obviously by necessity, given how short-handed you are, but how nerve-wracking is doing something like that, and is that scripted? What did you see out of that?
Well, we try to script our rotation each night based on who's available and combinations, and, we had to get minutes without Draymond, without Al. We had to get BP and Melt out. So, we were going to utilize our whole bench. And, these guys are all working hard every day. Our coaching staff's working with them development-wise. And, we're not afraid to put any of them in the game. They're all good players and learning and growing. And it's really fun as a coach to watch them have success like tonight.
How much, it seems like you guys have celebrated in this building a ton. I mean, is there how fond memories you have in this tunnel right here?
Yeah, this is a good building for us. We've won some playoff series here, and a lot of good memories in that locker room. It's interesting. I mean, we've won playoff games over the years here in series. We won Game 7 here. You win a game like tonight, it feels the same. You're just trying to win, and winning is just an amazing feeling. And even though this is a regular season game, just to see a bunch of young guys compete and come out with a win, it feels like a playoff win. It really does. It's the beauty of competing and playing in the NBA, coaching in the NBA, is you get nights like tonight where everything's worth it.
Separately, I know you still keep up with your alma mater, Arizona, they haven't been here this year. What do you think about their season and what they might be able to do with the market?
Yeah, I'm good friends with Tommy and really impressed with the job he's done. And the team looks great. And I'm watching every game that I can. And to win the Big 12 in just their second year, best conference in the country, it's been a great season so far. And I'm excited to watch what's next.
Thanks.
All right, that's Steve Kerr post-game. Had to get a question. I would imagine that was from local media in Houston about Big 12 hoops. His Arizona Wildcats, of course, where Steve Kerr went and played under Lute Olson way back in the day. They were having a great season under Tommy Lloyd. This year, as you heard Steve Kerr mention, they won the Big 12 regular season. A lot of good teams in that conference, including LJ Cryer's Houston Cougars, who are playing amazing and have been great for a number of years now. I was more interested in the answer just before that one, though, when he was talking about all the memories in Houston. He's talking about all the playoff wins they've had here, including series clinchers as recently as last year. And he's talking about how this win kind of felt like those. They kind of felt like those playoff wins. That's what this win meant to the Warriors. It meant a ton. And they win this one 115-113 in overtime. It was an amazing performance, contributions from everybody up and down the roster. And it's hard to leave that game tonight without a smile on your face if you're a Warrior fan, because things have not been good of late. They really have not been. It has not felt great. But tonight the Warriors gave all of us something good to feel about. He also said that he felt like this was the best game of Brandon Podziemski's season. He said, quote, "I thought that was Brandon's best game of the year." He's had a couple of others that I think you would include in the conversation, but I'm not going to sit here and flatly disagree with Steve. I thought Podziemski was great. And again, I think he saved his best, at least in the larger sense. We talk about scoring and how often, are you averaging 25 a game? That's how you're a great player in today's game. Of course, it's so much deeper than that, but that's the way a lot of us, I think, consume the NBA. He saved his best offense for the most important moments. 7 points in the first couple of minutes of overtime with no Melton on the floor, with no Horford on the floor. 26 points in total, 9 rebounds in this game, and with how often he had the ball in his hands, just 1 turnover, which is a really, really important number for Podziemski, considering, again, how often the ball is in his hands, specifically when the Warriors are playing without Steph Curry. He also called it a vintage Draymond game. Quote, the defense, the leadership, the force, the passing. I think the Warriors had a concerted effort to get to the paint in this game, and it's amazing that they outscored the Rockets by 12 points in the paint in this one, which is just absurd considering Houston. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a point guard. They go, wing, and then 7-footer, 7-footer, 7-footer. They go Amen Thompson, and then they go Tari Eason, and then they go Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Şengün. They go wing, 7-footer, 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 and the Warriors outscored the Rockets by 12 points in the paint. That is, one, a concerted effort, I believe, by the coaching staff, which is what I have frankly been begging for a long time, to try to get to the paint. And they've been doing that a little bit more of late. It worked great tonight. In this game, I think it was 18 points in the paint in just the first quarter alone. 18-10 was the points in the paint advantage in the first quarter. 18 of the Warriors' 30 points in the first quarter were in the paint. They finished with 60 points in the paint out of their 115. So more than half of their points came from inside the painted area. That is rare for this Warrior team that leads the league in 3-point attempts per game. They still put up 38 today, but considering where they normally are, that number is down by a wide margin. They've been consistently putting up 50-plus from downtown, at least like 45-plus from downtown. They put up 38 of them today. This was a concerted effort to get to the paint, to use Melton's ability to drive. I thought it was a mistake by Houston to put Amen Thompson on Podziemski instead of Melton. It allowed Melton to get going and get into a rhythm early. He scored 10 points in the first quarter of this game. He was driving past Tari Eason with relative ease. And then I think it is also a concerted effort to give Draymond the ball in positions where he can utilize his skill set the best. And that is not the ball swinging to him and him having to decide to take an open three or swing the ball more. That's not how you maximize Draymond's offense. It's give Draymond the ball in a position, maybe it's near the elbow, maybe it's short corner, where you can run back screens, pin downs, backdoor cuts off of him with the ball in his hands, and let him be the distributor. Let him be the passer. And Draymond tonight had 8 assists. Same thing goes for Al. Al is a better shooter, of course, so when the ball swings to Al open from 3, you want him taking that. But he also had 5 assists tonight. The Warriors' leading assists tonight, they had 29 assists. Their 3 leading assists were their 3 tallest players, at least in the starting lineup. Draymond with 8, Guy Santos with 6, and Al Horford with 5. This was a concerted effort for the Warriors kind of to lean into their point forwards and to get them the ball in positions where they can make decisions, not to beat the defense off the dribble necessarily, but to beat the defense with their passing and run the motions off of them, run the backdoor cuts, the pin downs, the screens off ball, get those guys free and trust Draymond and Al and Guy to make the right pass, and that happened tonight. That is how you maximize Draymond's offense. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Draymond is the offensive player that he was 6-7 years ago. He's not. He will admit that to you if you ask him. But I think what the Warriors have been specifically, while Steph has been out for the last, 11 or 12 games, the offense they've been running during that stretch has not maximized what Draymond is offensively. Tonight it did. It was less just, drive and kick, and the ball goes to Draymond along the perimeter, and he's open, and he kind of has to shoot the 3. But he's not a great 3-point shooter, and he misses. No, that's not the way to maximize Draymond. The way to maximize Draymond is to give him the ball in a position where you can run screens off of him and let him make those passes. And I think that's what the Warriors did in this game today, and it's a big reason why they won. They ultimately won this one. Again, final score 115-113. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey sports station, and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries, always live on the free Odyssey app, coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios. I thought Draymond was great. I thought Podziemski was great. And I thought Steve Kerr had himself a pretty good game as well. And again, the Warriors, they come away with a win, 115-113. In addition to the points in the paint, that was a surprise. Warriors plus 12, 60-48 versus this really tall front line for Houston. They also did a great job on the glass. This was something to keep an eye on, and I tracked it all game long. First half, Houston was plus 13 on the glass. They had 30 rebounds to the Warriors, 17 in the first half. In the second half, the Warriors out-rebounded the Houston Rockets. So much so that Houston was only plus 2 on the glass over the course of the entire game. 49 boards for Houston and 47 for the Warriors. And second chance points was only plus 6 in favor of Houston. And you might say, well, plus 6 for Houston, that's not good for the Warriors. Houston is the best offensive rebounding team in the league. They grab 40% of their misses. When the Houston Rockets miss a shot, they get the rebound 40% of the time, which is an absurdly high number. It is by far the highest number in the entire NBA. So to lose the second chance points battle by only 6, it speaks to a couple of things. One, the Warriors were really good on the glass, the defensive glass specifically. But it means they also were fighting for second chance opportunities themselves. Second chance points, 23 for Houston, 17 for the Warriors. And the bucket that iced the game for the Warriors, the Melton putback off the Guy missed putback, which came off of the Melton missed floater himself, that was a third chance point, which counts as the second chance point. And that iced the game, and the Warriors won 115-113. So they did a lot of the small things really well. They ultimately turned the ball over 19 times after I think they only had 6 in the first half. Let me confirm that. Actually only had 4 turnovers in the first half, which means they had 15 in the second half and overtime, which is a lot for what would that be, 29 minutes of basketball, the third and fourth quarters plus the 5 minutes of overtime. But they did a lot of the small things right. And because of that, they snuck out of Houston with the win. And as Steve Kerr was talking about, it feels kind of like a playoff win. And they have a lot of really good memories in this building. I want to share with you something that Draymond Green said post-game as well. We don't have the sound, but I'm going to read this quote to you from Draymond's post-game availability tonight after he was great in my mind and helped the Warriors win this basketball game. It is a relatively long quote, so just stick with me here. He was talking about recent conversations with Steph Curry. That is the baseline, the context for this quote from Draymond Green. Draymond Green says, quote, "My confidence level is high ultimately because I know he's going to put in all the work and do everything he can to get back. If his body allows him to get back, I know he will come back. He's not wanting to just shut it down. For us, just got to stay afloat. Nobody's expecting us to go on a 10-game win streak, but you just got to stay afloat. You can't let things go too far south, and that's what we're trying to do. Tonight's a big step towards that. You're never going to see him rattled. But I know him well enough. It's been a little challenging. Needless to say, he's staying around the guys, staying positive. You know, he's texting me today like, keep going. I know it's tough, but promise you I'm coming back." End quote from Draymond Green. Really few interesting lines there from Draymond Green. First of all, he says, I know he's going to put in all the work and do everything he can to get back. He says, quote, he's not wanting to just shut it down. Of course, the he's talking about is Steph Curry, and there has been some talk about the Warriors. Oh, they should just shut Steph down for the rest of the season. And, you know, if they lose, who cares? Improve the draft status, get into the lottery, and we'll re-go at this again next season. Steph does not have that bone in his body. He cannot possibly do that. I also don't think Steve Kerr does. I don't think Joe Lacob does. That is never an option. It's not going to happen. If Steph Curry's healthy and the Warriors mathematically have a chance, they're going to go for it as much as they possibly can. But the best line from this Draymond Green answer is, again, him recalling something that that Steph Curry texted Draymond today. Draymond said Steph texted him, quote, "Keep going. I know it's tough, but promise you I'm coming back." That's got to make you feel pretty good if you're a Warrior fan. Steph Curry is set on coming back, and we know he's out for at least the next 3 games. He's not going to play Saturday in OKC. He's not going to close the road trip in Utah, and he's not going to begin the homestand versus the Bulls. But who knows beyond that? Maybe Steph is back sooner as opposed to later, and maybe the Warriors can build off of a performance like this. Maybe they get Porzingis back relatively soon because, again, pregame today, he was getting in some on-court work along with Seth Curry, who has been out for months. Porzingis out again tonight, but Steph Curry said, quote, hopefully that, Steve Kerr said tonight, quote, hopefully that bodes well for him playing soon. Speaking of Porzingis getting some on-court work in. So a Porzingis return could be relatively soon. Maybe a Seth Curry return could be relatively soon. The Warriors aren't expecting, in my mind, Moses Moody or Will Richard to be out for that long. And maybe Steph Curry is on the way back relatively soon as well. And if you get a relatively healthy Warrior roster, the team is, of course, going to look and feel a whole lot different. And who knows what happens if they could get into the playoffs. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be chomping at the bit to play the Steph Curry-led Golden State Warriors. But we shall see. That's a conversation for later. Once they do get healthier, I do think there is, though, some light at the end of the tunnel as it relates to some Warrior injuries going forward. All right. I do have one other piece of good news for you before we get out of here tonight as it relates to the Warriors. The Warriors got the win, which, of course, is priority number one, 115-113 in overtime versus Kevin Durant and the Rockets. The Clippers were idle today. They did not play. The team right above the Warriors in the Western Conference standings, though, the Phoenix Suns, they did play. And if you are a hoop head and you were looking at the schedule for the NBA today, you might have circled that as an easy Suns win because they were hosting the Chicago Bulls. Well, you were wrong if you thought that way because the Bulls, they beat the Suns 105-103 the final. Bulls beat the Suns, which is good for the Warriors because that Suns loss paired with the Warriors win mean the Warriors gained a game on the Suns. They're now 3 behind the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference. The Suns are the 7. The Warriors are the 8. You entered the day down by 4. You're now down by 3. That's still a lot of ground to cover. But you keep an eye on that, of course, because you might move down to the 9 if the Clippers or the Blazers catch you. But who knows? If the Suns, they start struggling, you might be able to catch them as well. We shall see. The Suns are dealing with a lot of injuries right now. We know about Dylan Brooks, who's been out for a couple of weeks now. He's going to miss probably maybe another month or so. We will see. They also got bad news today. Mark Williams, who they acquired this offseason. If you remember, Mark Williams was the center for the Hornets last year that was traded before the deadline to the Lakers, only for the Lakers to not pass his physical. So he went back to the Hornets. And then the Suns acquired him this offseason. He's been pretty good for them so far this year. Part of why they've been so much better this year as opposed to last year, despite not having Kevin Durant anymore. He's going to be out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. The word from the Suns is he'll be reevaluated again in 2 to 3 weeks after he was diagnosed with a stress reaction in his left foot. So big man Mark Williams is also out for an extended period of time for the Suns. Dylan Brooks is out still for an extended period of time. Maybe the Suns start losing. They lost tonight to the Bulls, and maybe that opens up a possibility for the Warriors to climb. They're still 3 games back. I think you got to be within a game to really make it a real possibility. But who knows? There's still 20 games left for the Warriors and 20 games left for the Suns. The Warriors do currently have the tiebreak versus the Suns as well, thanks to that comeback they had in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, just before the All-Star break, when they erased a big deficit down the stretch, and they won that basketball game in Phoenix. So we'll keep an eye on the Suns and their scores going forward. Keep an eye on the Clippers and the Blazers as well, plus, of course, what's happening with the Warriors. What is happening with the Warriors is up next in OKC on Saturday at 5:30. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30 right here on 95.7 The Game. That is game 2 of this 3-game trip. After that, they're in Utah on Monday. That's next Monday, of course, versus the Utah Jazz. Then they return home for a back-to-back in Utah Monday versus Chicago at home on Tuesday. Then they're off all the way until Friday versus the T-Wolves. Then they go back out on the road. That is the upcoming schedule for the Warriors. But again, up next, OKC in OKC on Saturday at 5:30. Of course, you can hear that game right here on 95.7 The Game. All right, that's going to do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, a big shout-out to my guy, Cam Williams, behind the glass, plus Zach Green for helping out during the broadcast and the game tonight as well. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and for your contributions to the show tonight. I appreciate it as always. I will be back for Warriors Live and Wrap-Up on Saturday for the Warriors game in OKC. Plus, we'll probably talk tomorrow at some point on these airwaves, as always, on 95.7 The Game. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Randy, signing off. What a Dubs win, 115-113 in OT in Houston versus the Rockets. Thanks so much for listening on 95.7 The Game.
That sound? Yeah, that's not a good sign. Hey, it's Drew Brees.